to do the
Welcome to Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. Now let's join our host, Tom Shorkey.
Welcome to Conversations. I'm Tom Shorkey, your host for today's program. Today I have a guest who is complicated, deep, a lot of complex things go on in her life, and for the rest of the Blue Water area, we just don't know how she got the name Simply Marcella. It's a lot more convoluted than that. Our guest today is Marcella Costin, the owner of Simply Marcella. Welcome to the show, Marcella.
Thank you. That's quite a introduction.
Well, you know, and we're going to get to, before we get too far down the road, how you got that name of Simply Marcella, where you picked that from, because after talking with you and the many things that you have going on with your shops here, Lake Orion and Sheboygan, simply just doesn't seem to categorize what you have going. Tell our audience where you grew up, Marcella. Are you from this area?
Well, no, but I feel like I am because I've been here for such a long time. Basically, I grew up, most of my life was Bay City, West Branch area, and I moved away to college, and I never went back to that area. Instead, I moved to New Baltimore right after college and got my first job here in East China. So I've been here for a very, very long time.
Well, not that long, but I do, yes. And when you came to East China, I think, was it middle school, language arts, was that
Yes.
your background?
Yes, I had my undergrad was in speech communications and language arts, and that's what I started here in East China. And then I went back and had a reading specialist degree, and then I went back and got a master's degree in theater. So I used all of that here for East China School District.
And while you actually taught in this building that is now our studio,
Yes.
and you did a lot of the plays and the theater work with your students, but then somewhere along the way, you started doing commercials?
Yes.
Tell us about that part of Marcella.
That was a lot of fun. After I finished my master's degree in the theater, I decided to see what I could get with film, and that was really wonderful because, oh my gosh, I'm running out of blank. Daryl Walker was my principal, and he was very supportive of me when I would have these auditions come up, and maybe I would have to leave school an hour early, and you could only go during that time slot. And I was very fortunate to get around probably 12 different commercials, gifted commercials. I say gifts because for me, I go to the auditions and I didn't have the pressure because I had a teaching job and I was very comfortable and it was just for fun. And I saw a lot of the other people, it was their way of living. So the pressure was a little bit greater. So for me, if I didn't get it, it was like, oh, it was a good experience. And if I got it, it was like, yes.
Well, what were a couple of things that you pitched on television?
Without giving away too much, I did a Weight Watchers commercial, ABC Warehouse, Kmart, so those would be probably the ones that people know the most, or different a hot tub company, so different places.
Well, and somewhere along the way, Marcella, you taught, you were a middle school teacher, got a couple extra degrees, interested in theater, did your commercial work. Where or how did the inspiration for Simply Marcella show up? I mean, what's the beginning of all that?
I think like any teacher or business owner, it all starts, you have this creative mind. And basically I was a teacher for a long time, like I said, and my husband was traveling abroad and I would go with him. And we spent one summer doing a lot in Japan and China, and I learned a lot about pearls. I was introduced to some really great people. It wasn't just walking in a little pearl shop. We went behind the scenes to learn how everything was processed. And I realized that things in the US were just so expensive when it came to pearls compared to what I was seeing there. I decided I wanted to start a little business. So I flew home by myself from China because my husband was doing other work in other parts of the world. And in the 14 hours on the plane, I developed a little business plan. And when I got home, I wrote to my girlfriends and I said, hey, what do you guys think about this business? Because I was always trying to create something. And I got a lot of good feedback. And so I asked a girlfriend of mine, Chris Gavars, if she would like to go back to China with me in 2 weeks. And I took $10,000 as my first investment, and I designed about 20 different pieces while I was there. And we came home, and I started my business in my basement, but it was called Simply Pearls for a very long time. And then we started to do a lot of shipping, and we didn't really want to have pearls on the outside of the packaging.
Good point.
So we just changed it to Simply Marcella, not knowing that that was going to become our brand.
Well, and I think it's good for our listeners to note that it wasn't just about you going to the East and purchasing pearls. The key is you were designing your own jewelry?
Yes, which I still do. And now I think I've had the business for about 14 years now. And we probably have over 500 designs in the stores. I'm not really sure. I change them all the time. I mean, there are some staples that we will always carry because our customers have come to know and they love that product. But I really try to keep it exciting for everybody. And I often hear men say, how many pearls does my wife need? And my answer is, as many as she wants.
Yeah.
So a lot of my designs, like we do our Michigan designs. This is like a bracelet I'm wearing, the necklace. Those things that make us different have made the product, the brand, continue to grow.
Well, and I think Paul has a close-up of the bracelet you're wearing right now that is the lower peninsula on one end and the upper peninsula on the other. When you come up with a creative idea like that, do you copyright your own things, or could somebody take that and do a knockoff?
And we see them knocked off often already. My husband and I do. It's kind of it's funny, but I don't mind it because I guess, what do they say, imitation is best form of flattery?
I was going to say, it's flattering.
Yeah, so even my packaging designs, I will see my packaging, because I design all my own packaging, I design all the own labels, all my artwork. So I'll often go online and see other companies using some of my designs, even in the graphics area. But a lot of the jewelry I'll see, like if I go the next season, I'll see some of my things on display for different companies at the big Hong Kong fair that I go to, the International Jewelry Fair. I'll be like, that's my design, but it's okay. I mean, it's a big world. So
you started off when you came back and you were working out of your basement or out of your home, and you kept teaching during that time period?
Yeah, for quite a long time.
And then you came to the realization that maybe we ought to have a shop, a retail outlet.
Well,
tell us about that cute little store on the corner of Vine.
Our lovely first store. When I was teaching school, I was also doing this pearl business, and I was packing up probably 3 nights a week after school with my friend Chris, and we were going to different people's homes, and we were doing pearl shows. And then it started, people were coming to my home, bridal parties were coming to my home, so our home really became a store. And I was still teaching, so I was losing my home, and I said to my husband, either I'm going to need a store or I cannot continue this business and teach. It became a little bit too much. And my husband always wanted that little corner store, a gas station, but we didn't know if we could get it, and it was a bit of a challenge to get it at that time. But John persevered, and we were able to get the store, and then we did all of the renovations ourselves. A lot of people know that gas station, and it was such a sweet little space for Simply Marcella in St. Clair.
You did great things with it. And for our veteran St. Clair residents, Simply Marcella was in Callahan's gas station, right across from the St. Clair Inn, with that same type of design to it. Yeah. So you were there, and we talked, probably about 10 years ago, you opened that particular store. Then, 3 or 4 years later, you thought, gee, I don't have enough to do. Let's open another one, and you went out to Lake Orion. Why Lake Orion?
That's kind of a funny story, but we were actually living in Helsinki, Finland at the time that I opened the Lake Orion store. I had a great team managing my St. Clair store, and when I came back, I went to an appointment in Lake Orion, and I saw this building downtown with no intentions of opening another store. But it was empty, and it just looked like Simply Marcella, and I just thought, why not? And I was able to hire another great crew that runs that store right now. They do a really super job. Unfortunately, that store, we got one of those devastating letters again last year from my landlord saying we had to leave, and we were like, but he's been working with us. So we're really excited. One block down, there's a brand new building going up, and we have a great new landlord, and he is building the space out for us in Lake Orion. So Lake Orion store will actually be one block down. So the spot we're in right now, which is super cute, we hope it's going to be even cuter in our new location.
And bigger, maybe.
Same, kind of.
About same size.
Yeah, same.
Okay, so now you're in St. Clair. You're in Lake Orion. Are you done with teaching yet or not?
I'm subbing a little bit now. It keeps me fresh because when you're I never had children. I'm very far removed from children. So when I'm back in the school district and I see the kids, I can learn a lot in one day.
I bet you can.
Yes.
Then you've got your 2 shops going. You and John are still you're going out to China and Japan for products, and he's still doing his automotive thing. And for our listeners at home, if you want to go to our website, watchtv.org, I had Marcella's husband, John Costin, probably 6 or 8 months ago, and he has a fabulous story to tell. If you go to our website, click on shows, click on conversations, and you can see any of the 30 or 35 interviews we've done. But John has a very interesting story himself. So now you're really busy. You're going this way, he's going that. You got Lake Orion in St. Clair. You stopped by Sheboygan.
Yeah.
Tell us how that all came about.
Sheboygan's really cute. A lot of people have kind of pushed it off the map because it's been left alone for quite a long time, but it's definitely coming back. And my husband and I bought a cottage in Sheboygan on Lake Huron. And one winter, I guess it was early November, we were driving through the town and I saw this really cute little building just sitting there empty and lonesome, and I said to John, I wonder if I could rent that for a pop-up. I wonder if I could get that for 2 months to see.
Just summertime or whenever?
No, it was Christmas. It was, so I think I saw it on a Monday, the first Monday of November, and I called my team. Well, first I said 3 points. Can I rent it? Can I get a manager up here? And can I get my team to come up and build it for me in 1 week? Everything was a yes by the end of that day. Within 1 week, we had our Simply Marcella pop-up store in downtown Sheboygan, and that was 3 years ago, our very first one, 2015, and it was such a great experience. The people in Sheboygan were so welcoming and kind and wonderful, so I did it the next year. And then the people started to say, what can we do to encourage you to be open full time? How can we get you to do that? And my answer was, I want a boat. I don't want to work every single day. And so I never thought I would open something full time.
But?
A really cute building went up for sale. And as soon as we went through this building, I had a vision of what I really felt it could be and how it could enhance the downtown community of Sheboygan. So we bought a building on Main Street and we lived in it as was for 1 season. And then as soon as our first Christmas season was over, we renovated the entire building. So the front of the building is Simply Marcella. I should say the first 3 quarters is Simply Marcella. And then the other quarter behind it is called the Queen's Head Wine Pub. You should look it up, queensheadwinepub.com. It turned out to be really cute. It's an English pub, and so that way the place is fully licensed. You can actually shop and drink at the same time. And we worked with the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation, and we did receive a facade grant to help us with the Main Street facade and the Huron Street facade of the Queen's Head. That was very beneficial. We probably could not have done that if we had not had their support. And now we're finishing the upstairs, which is a really sweet apartment. It has 2 floors. The upstairs has 3 bedrooms, the bottom all open, and we're going to cater to women, but it could be couples, and it's just for weekend retreat getaways. That's what it's for.
Sounds great. Who does the buying for all your stores? Who picks what's
My staff would love to, but I'm very selfish. I do everything. So as you know, I design the jewelry and all that. I design a lot of the clothes, which I am wearing one of my designs right now. I design our coats, and we've sold over 3,000 of our coats already, and I only make 6 of every fabric. So if you do the math, That's a lot of fabrics that we've gone through. And then outside of my own designs, I have different brands that we bring in, and I'm pretty particular about the look that I feel Simply Marcella should be. That's why I have a little bit of a hard time letting the buying go to somebody else. Yes.
So are all three of your stores, shops, whatever, are they, do they all have similar products?
Very similar. And there's a bonus to that. If you come in and you try on a men's vest and you needed an extra large tall, maybe Sheboygan doesn't have it and maybe Lake Orion doesn't have it, but we call St. Clair and St. Clair says, sure, we have it, and then we can ship it to our customer. So there is a nice bonus of having 3 stores with similar product.
Sounds great. You had a little heartbreak in St. Clair a couple of years ago. You had the coolest corner in town, and I think you planned on being there for a long time, and the St. Clair Inn was in transition, and you got one of those letters that said what?
Goodbye. It was heartbreaking, and I think you can't even say devastating, because we loved that store. My staff loved that store, and I feel like the community appreciated the store as well. And when we received news that we had, I think it was 60 or 90 days, I don't really remember, we were just shocked, because we thought, we were led to believe that they appreciated our business too and thought it would be a good fit. So it was very sad when we had to close those doors, and at that time I never thought I would be coming back to St. Clair, because I was a little too heartbroken. So that's how that one ended for a while.
Well, but you did, and you were gone, what, year and a half? Was it that long? About a year and a half, where you just had your other 2 stores. And then an opportunity arose to return to St. Clair. So explain exactly where you are right now for Simply Marcella.
Okay, well, I'm going to back it up a little bit and tell you something about Simply Marcella as far as my vision. I support the mall and everything we have, but Simply Marcella, in my mind, never belonged. It does not belong in a mall. Our Lake Orion is on Main Street, its own cute little building. Sheboygan has its own identity and its own building. And I knew if I came back to St. Clair, I needed an identity that stood out a little bit more. Even though we're a little bit challenging to find right now because of all the magic happening across the street, we are located directly across the street from the new upcoming St. Clair Inn. And we're in Judy St. Clair Realty. We're in the front of Judy Shaw's St. Clair Realty building. And the beauty of this is we worked out this great plan that we're very small right now, but we have to be because of the traffic and the construction, and it's hard to get customers into this location at this time. But if things expand and things continue to grow, we will take over more of that building, and we will be the Simply Marcella we were prior to our...
Great. Now, and is the plan that, like right now, you drive, if you're going to St. Clair Realty or to Simply Marcella, you drive right in off Riverside, but that's going to close, and what, the driveway is going to be off Vine Street? Is that how we get to you?
It's going to be more challenging. It will be a permanent close because of the construction that's going on. For a while that was grandfathered in, and then from what I understand, things changed, and now when that new building that's being put up there, it won't allow for traffic, but there will be a walkway in between those 2 buildings to a parking lot and to the St. Clair Inn. So if you go on that walkway, you will go to Simply Marcella or past Simply Marcella. So to get to us now, you do have to go down Vine Street and down I guess the drive's off Vine Street. I don't know if it's going to have a name. Yeah. That's one thing to think about.
Maybe it'd just be Simply Street. Who knows?
Simply, okay.
Okay, now, and you've got, you know, one of the things I always like to ask towards the end of an interview, but I'm going to ask it now because you've got a lot of balls in the air, a lot of things are spinning. I usually like to say, well, it's 2019 and 2025. What's Marcella going to be doing? Tell us a little bit about what you have going on in Sheboygan at this time.
Okay. Well, we're really excited about everything we have going on right now. I already mentioned our Simply Marcella store, and that was our intention, just to buy that one store. 2 other old storefronts adjacent to us went up for sale, and they are in total disrepair. But we really do love Sheboygan, and we really do want to help bring this Main Street up to up to par. And so we bought the 2 old buildings, and then again, Marcella had more ideas of what we thought we should do with it. So I don't know if any of our listeners have heard of Stormy Kromer, but I thought Stormy Kromer is an amazing product that would fit perfectly up in a northern Michigan store. Stormy Kromer has been around since 1903, and its Elmer Fudd hat is the best way I can describe it. So I reached out to the company that's in Ironwood, Michigan, and I invited them to Sheboygan, and I gave them a 2-hour presentation of why I thought we should open the very first Stormy Kromer store in the world. I have to be careful. It's not a corporate store. It will be privately owned, but in a partnership with Stormy Kromer. And so we say building number 1, 2, and 3. Building number 1 is simply Marcella. Building number 2 will be the first Stormy Kromer storefront. It's going to be called Stormy Kromer, a Cap and Ale House, so you'll be able to drink beer. It's fully licensed. Behind Stormy Kromer, we're going to open a 50-seat theater. It's very similar to the one in Lake Orion called 20 Front Street, in case you've ever looked at that.
I haven't seen that.
Beautiful. It's really, if anybody gets an opportunity, you should give it a shot. And then behind the Lark Theater, we're going to open the Lark Lounge. And the Lark Lounge is connected to the Queen's Head through a little secret swinging
Harry
bookshelf,
Potter door,
a
I
Harry
heard.
Potter door. And then above that, we're building 3 apartments. Building number 3, second storefront, will be a fudge shop. We're working with some places out of Mac City, Mac Island. And then building number 3, fourth storefront, I didn't tell you this part. We have it almost ready for a full salon, massage, and a med spa, Botox, Juvederm, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh boy.
Yeah, so there's a little bit happening here.
It sounds like. So that, my question was, what are you going to be doing in 5 or 6 years? Let's see.
Yeah.
You're hoping to expand the St. Clair store in partnership with Judy Shawn's realty business. You're going to be in a new spot on Main Street in Lake Orion. And you and Harry Potter got something going with Stormy Kromer. Now, you asked me about Stormy Kromer. This is what I remember about a Stormy Kromer hat. Something about 100 years ago, Upper Peninsula, Michigan, and it's some old guy with kind of a cool designed hat. What's the history on Stormy Kromer?
It's pretty cool. In 1903, George Stormy Kromer asked his wife to design a hat for him. He was a baseball player, and then he became an engineer. And he liked the feel of a baseball hat, but it kept blowing off, and it wouldn't keep his ears warm. So she designed the 6-pointer, which is a 6-panel hat, and you can pull down the sides to fit your ears and keep your ears warm. And it's become quite something. It was just voted the coolest thing made in Michigan in November of last year in Lansing. It's got quite a following. If you go to their Facebook page, they have about 40,000 followers on Facebook, which is huge for us in Sheboygan and for Stormy Kromer. And their factory is really cute. It's very far away. It's far off to the top of the Upper Peninsula as you get to the west. And it's in Ironwood, Michigan, and they do give tours. So if anybody gets a chance and they're interested in things like that, I would highly recommend it. But it's not just a hat anymore. There's a full line of clothing. There's women's clothes, men's, dogs, children. So it's really an exciting product. I love it.
Now, and my last thing about Sheboygan. Sheboygan really is a small town. It's on Lake Huron. It's on the eastern side, and it seemed like everybody in the world wanted to do something in Traverse City, Frankfort, Petoskey, Harbor Springs. But boop, you're over here on the Lake Huron side. Is Sheboygan busy year-round, or it's close to Mackinac Island, I know.
Yes. I love that question. I really love that question because I feel like that's why we are in Sheboygan. I could not do what I'm doing right now if it was on the west side of the state. I could not afford to do what we're doing right now. Sheboygan is actually 18 miles east of Mac City, and it does have a river that runs right through it, a beautiful, pristine river. It has the biggest hiking trails, bike trails, snowmobile trails. It's a trails town. It's working on becoming nominated as a trails town. We're also up for Sheboygan Main Street select level with the state of Michigan. You have an opportunity in Sheboygan that you probably couldn't get in too many other places, and I will say in the whole United States. Yeah. You're in the beautiful up north, there's real estate that you can afford to buy, and you have opportunities to start businesses. And I told you earlier, there is a great competition, and I'd love to see it come to St. Clair County. It's called Invest Sheboygan. And anybody that wants to start a business can actually submit their application, and if the top 10 applications are selected, you have 4 minutes to get on a stage and tell them why your business should be picked to be the winner. And if you win $10,000 to help start up your business. It's amazing when you see the energy that will come out of that and the ideas for businesses that come to fruition. And I would love to see St. Clair County.
Well, I think with all your businesses all over the state, I think you better get on that. Where we can, because when you see, new business, Marine City, St. Clair, things are happening. I think a technique along that line would be interesting and beneficial, not only for the individual but for the community.
It is really good for the community.
What would be your advice if somebody came to you and said, Marcella, we've seen what you've been able to do. I'm thinking about going into business for myself. What piece of advice would you give to someone who's never done it before but thinks they want to run their own business?
I have to start with what my husband always says to me. Don't quit your day job. And it sounds like a cliche, but it's quite true, because had I not kept teaching and I would have just started a business that I don't know anything about, I was not a business person, it probably would not have worked. But by having my other job and learning what customers wanted, that gave me time to build a customer base and understand how to move forward. The other thing, people hate business plans. You hate writing a business plan. But if you, let's say you love comic books and you say, I'm going to open a comic book store. That's great, but you really need to do your homework. And it's horrible, and everybody hates it, but break down those numbers. What are you looking at? And then you have to see if it's very viable. Can you actually make this work? Can you make a living doing that?
Who's been influential in your life?
I've been very fortunate. My number one, I'll pick two. My grandfather, businessman through and through and through. He was 82 and started a new business. He was quite amazing. And I have to say second, my husband. He makes me crazy, but it's a good crazy. Yeah. He supports too many of my ideas.
Tell me about community events. You do some, I mean, with Simply Marcella, you will do like private parties or whatever, but and if somebody goes back and looks at my interview with John, you two went through a significant health issue, and it is truly an amazing story on what you went through and for John to get his health back. And I know you've raised money. Give us a couple examples of what you folks have been able to do.
That was a pretty incredible experience. We did it 3 years in a row, but the last year we did it, which was 2 years ago, was the best. It was for Be the Match. And I was only able to do it because I had the help of Riley Yakum, who worked with me then. And Be the Match is an organization that I wish more people knew about. And the reason I found it so important is because John did have a stem cell transplant. And we hear more and more people are having them. And if you're diagnosed with leukemia or other various diseases, a stem cell transplant is your only hope. And people don't understand that the way you can save a life is not as complicated as it sounds for a stem cell transplant. In order to get on the donor registry, you have to have events for Be the Match, for example. If I wanted to get on the registry and I'm under 40, it cost me $100 by myself. Well, not a lot of people have $100 just to join the registry. If people like me hold events, it's free for you to join the registry. So when we have our events, it's primarily to get different people to come in and get their mouth swabbed. That's all it is when you do Be the Match. It's a swab. You send in your swab, and I'm kind of going back. And if, let's say, I needed a transplant and you are my match, you can save my life by having your stem cells spun out, your red and white cells are put back into you, and your stem cells come to me, and your stem cells can save my life. And a lot of people do not understand how easy it is to save someone's life. It just takes time to join the registry. And a perfect example, and I'm going off on a tangent, there's a lady, my stepdaughter's friend, she's Indian lady, and she lives in the UK. She has very little time left because they cannot find a match for her. And it's just a matter of people taking that time to get on that registry. So we did raise about $34,000 that last event, and I do want to do it again in the next couple years. But we have little ones too, like we have a hospice event coming up here in St. Clair, and that'll be, I think it's March 14th, so that one's coming up too. But whatever you can do to help somebody, do it if you can, I guess, right?
I think it's fabulous. You have so many things going. And as I said at the start of the show, the name of the organization might be Simply Marcella. But this woman is anything but simply. You have done tremendous things, 3 different communities, as well as, you know, benefits for Be the Match. When John was sick, he ended up through Be the Match with a young man in Germany or something was the match. So it's an incredible thing. And Marcella's store is available if you need to do a special event. Stop and see her or her. She has people in each of her locations that know the ins and outs of the business that will be more than happy to help you. And Marcella, it's been a great pleasure for you to be with us on Conversations today. And for our listeners at home, go to watchctv.org, click on shows, click on Conversations, and you can see Marcella's as well as a number of others we've done over the years. And if you know of someone who you think would be a very interesting guest on our show, don't hesitate to contact us through our website. On behalf of Conversations, Paul Dingeman and Marcella Costin, thanks for watching today's show.
You've been watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey. Conversations explores the past, the present, and the future of the communities in which we live through the eyes of interesting individuals. If you have an idea for a future conversation, please contact us at www.watchctv.org. Thanks for watching Conversations with Tom Shorkey.